Welcome to the Horror Hive channel, where the darkness and unknown come alive. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss an episode of terror. Let's dive into the darkness together. Night terrors at the seaside. Samantha and her friend, Emma, were excited to spend 2 weeks at the seaside with their parents. The beach was beautiful, and the sun was shining, but there was one problem. Every night, around midnight, the sound of swing motors and creepy music filled the air, preventing the girls from getting a good night's sleep. They couldn't take it anymore, so they decided to investigate. They snuck out of their house in the middle of the night and made their way to the abandoned park a few streets away. The park was overgrown and creepy, with broken swings and rusted seesaws. They could hear the sound of faint laughter, as if someone was watching them. Emma's phone suddenly shut off and they were left in complete darkness. They were both terrified and they decided to turn back. But as they were walking back, they saw a figure standing at the end of the path, with a pale face and a dark suit, staring at them with empty eyes. They were about to leave when the music started again. As they walked towards the exit, a strange clown appeared, laughing a terrible laugh. The girls were frozen in fear, but they managed to run away. They heard the sound of the clown's laughter following them as they ran back to their house. The next day, they told their parents about the clown, but they didn't believe them. That night, a security guard at the park was found dead, and the girls knew it was the clown who had killed him. They spent the rest of their vacation in fear, never venturing out of their house at night. They never forgot the terror they felt in that abandoned park, and the memory of the clown's laugh still haunts them to this day. They couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched and followed, and they couldn't shake off the thought of the clown. They started to have nightmares and the clown appeared in their dreams, chasing them. They couldn't wait to leave the place and go back home. They never spoke of the incident again, but it haunted them for the rest of their lives. Playground of the Dead. It was a dark, moonless night when a group of teenagers decided to sneak into the local park after hours to explore. They had heard stories of the park being haunted, but they didn't believe it. They thought it would be a fun and exciting adventure. As soon as they entered the park, they started to feel a sense of unease. The trees seemed to loom over them, casting long shadows on the ground. The air was thick and heavy, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves in the wind. They made their way to the old, decrepit playground, which was off-limits to visitors after dark. As they approached, they saw something move in the shadows. At first, they thought it was just a trick of the light, but then they saw it again. It was a figure, tall and thin, with long, tangled hair and ragged clothes. It seemed to be watching them, but when they tried to get a better look, it vanished into the darkness. They shrugged it off as their imagination and continued to explore the playground. But as they climbed on the equipment, they started to feel a sense of dread. The swings seemed to sway on their own, and the monkey bars creaked and groaned. They could hear whispers coming from the shadows, but when they turned to look, there was no one there. Suddenly, one of the teenagers, Jake, felt something grab his ankle. He screamed and kicked, trying to break free, but the grip was too strong. He was pulled under the slide and disappeared from sight. The others searched frantically for him, but he was nowhere to be found. Panic set in, and the remaining teenagers realized they had to get out of the park before it was too late. They ran through the twisted paths and hidden corners, but the figure was always one step ahead of them. It seemed to know the park better than they did, and it was leading them deeper into the darkness. They stumbled upon an old, abandoned ranger station and decided to take refuge there. But as soon as they entered, they knew they had made a grave mistake. The figure was already inside, waiting for them. They were trapped, with no way out. The figure revealed itself to be the ghost of the park ranger who had gone insane and killed visitors for fun before his death. He told them that he had been waiting for new visitors to play with, and he would not let them go. The teenagers were horrified, and they knew that their only chance of survival was to outsmart the ranger. They managed to lure him into a trap, and they escaped just as the sun was rising. They ran as fast as they could, not daring to look back. They were bruised, battered, and traumatized, but they were alive. From that night on, the park was closed to visitors after dark, and a ranger was stationed at the entrance to make sure that no one entered. But even with the park closed, the teenagers couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The Phantom of the Park. The city park was a place of beauty and tranquility, where people came to escape the hustle and bustle of the city. But beneath the veneer of serenity, a dark force lurked. A killer, known only as the Phantom, preyed on the young and unsuspecting, stalking them through the twisted paths and hidden alcoves of the park. The first victim was a young woman, whose screams echoed through the park late one night. Her body was found the next morning, strangled and left in a secluded area, hidden from view. The police were baffled, as there were no witnesses and no clues as to the identity of the killer. But the Phantom was not done yet. He struck again and again, each time in a more gruesome and elaborate manner. The city was in a state of panic, as parents warned their children to stay away from the park after dark. But the young and curious were drawn to the danger, and the Phantom claimed more victims. As the body count rose, the police were no closer to finding the killer. But there were those who knew the truth, who had seen the Phantom in the shadows, who had heard his sinister laughter in the wind. But they were too afraid to speak out, for they knew that the Phantom was always watching, always waiting for his next victim. One night, a group of friends decided to explore the park, despite the warnings. They ventured deep into the heart of the park, where the Phantom was said to reside. As they walked, they heard strange noises and felt a sense of unease creeping over them. Suddenly, they heard a noise behind them and they turned around to see the Phantom, standing there in the darkness, with a twisted smile on his face. The friends ran for their lives, but the Phantom was faster. He caught up with them and killed them one by one. The only survivor kept the secret to himself, not daring to speak of the Phantom ever again. We hope you enjoyed our journey into the world of horror. We strive to bring you the best in horror entertainment and we appreciate your support. Remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of terror. Thank you for listening and we'll see you in our next story.